when you stop drinking alcohol, the first thing that you can expect will happen in the first few days. And I want to be realistic with you. I don't want to overhype it because there are enough videos out there with people talking to you about all the great things to expect when you stop drinking. Instead, I want to use this video to really prepare you, to give you some realistic expectations, because the act of not drinking alcohol isn't going to mysteriously fix all your problems. And neither are you going to face zero challenges along the way. We all do. It doesn't matter what approach you take, you will face challenges. And it all starts at the beginning. So in the first few days, you can expect to not feel that good. Now, this really does vary on an individual level. It all depends on how much you drank, how long you drank for, and a lot of it depends on your mindset going into this. If you expect to not feel that good and you're able to just kind of fight through it and get to the other end, but you knew it was going to happen, then you're probably a lot better mentally prepared for it. But if you thought that you were just going to stop drinking alcohol, all of a sudden you're going to feel great, you might be in for a rude awakening. And I want to be realistic in this video. I don't want this video just to sell you on the benefits of stopping drinking, right? There's enough people out there on the internet that do that. I want you to be able to use this video as more of a battle plan, right? I want you to be able to think back and then, when you're on day 18, you'll be like, oh, right, I remember that point Leon made in this video. I want you to use this video as pure education about the realistic expectations. So the first few days, you might not feel that good. I myself stopped drinking in my mid-20s, so it was only a few days where I didn't feel that good. But I've worked with people in my coaching program, SoberClear.com, where I work with business owners and professionals and I help them stop drinking alcohol with a totally new method that's been scientifically validated. In fact, if you go to Google Scholar and you search SoberClear system, you'll actually find a scientific report written by an academic psychologist that really breaks down the process that I take people through, how it works, the science behind it, the 96% success rate. But through my company and the work that I've done with people, I've helped people who have drank for 50 years. No joke. For them, the first month was up and down. Some days they feel good, the next day they might crash. Energy levels were all over the place. Dopamine was just resetting. And there are some people out there that will need to do this with medical supervision. But I don't want you to just think that all of a sudden you're going to stop drinking alcohol, the next day you're going to wake up and then everything's just going to feel better. Just expect the first few days to feel kind of weird. So the second thing that you can expect is once you've got past this, right? For some of us that will happen on day 2. For some of us it's going to happen on month 2. It all depends on the individual, like I said, but what will happen is you will reach a peak. And what I mean is that you'll remember how bad you felt when you drank, right? That's how this journey always begins. Nobody stops drinking because they're having a great time with alcohol and they just think, yippee-doo-dah, let's just not drink. When alcohol causes no problems in our life, we continue to drink it until it does cause problems. But alcohol will create some level of pain. At the end of the day, alcohol is a poison, right? It's ethanol. Of course it's going to cause pain. It causes pain to everybody. It's a carcinogen. It is poison. But the memory of the pain will be very fresh in your mind. When I stopped drinking, I remember my life had just kind of crumbled apart. I'd lost my personal training business. I'd tried to start a career in London. I failed. I was single. I was overweight. I had no money. I was in a terrible place. And alcohol was linked to all of these problems. So when I stopped drinking, I reached this peak. I just remember this rush of like, oh, I'm done. And the reason why I felt so good all of a sudden was because I could remember how bad things were. Now, most people will experience this. Not everybody experiences it, but most of us will get this sense of euphoria of, oh, wow, it's really done. Like I feel so much better. Like I said, for some of us that can happen in the first couple of days, like it did for me. For some of the people I've helped, it's happened in the second month. So whatever you feel in the first few days, just remember it's normal. But once you've got past it, you'll remember how bad things were. And then all of a sudden, energy starts getting up there, clarity starts getting better, all the benefits that people do tell you about will just hit you, and you'll feel pretty damn awesome. And it almost feels a little bit like riding a wave. I don't know if you've ever been surfing before. Oh, I had the worst experience of my life, and I almost died when I went surfing. I swear, I don't know how I survived. It was a nightmare. But I caught a wave, and I remember standing up, and I could kind of visualize like the satisfaction of riding that wave and getting to the shore and, just feeling like, wow, this is just incredible. I got a taste of it and then I fell off. Whilst I never truly rode a wave and I almost died, hopefully you get the point. You'll get this feeling of satisfaction and it'll feel very smooth and things will just feel like, oh, I'm on top of things again. So that's the second thing you can expect. But let's get into the third thing, because now this is where things can get not necessarily bad, but I want to be honest with you. Eventually, you will forget the pain. You'll forget how bad things were. You'll be living your life, feeling really good, and you can ride this wave for multiple months. But I promise you, This will happen to you at some point. The wave will stop. And literally just imagine it as a wave, right? You ride the wave, you feel really, really awesome, and then the wave stops, and then you arrive at the shore. And everything just feels kind of flat. So you can't really remember the pain that alcohol was causing. You can't remember sitting there waiting for a year to catch a wave. You've totally forgotten it. It's almost like you get to the shore and you just totally forget everything that just happened. And this is what I like to call finding a new normal, a new baseline. And this can be a little bit of a rude awakening. Not many people expect it. Right? Everybody's going to sit here till they're blue in the face telling you about all the good things that happen when you stop drinking, the energy, the clarity, losing weight. Sure, those things will happen. But a lot of people that make these videos, they might be a few months sober, they'll make a video, they'll talk about the benefits, but the pain is still fresh in their mind. But eventually, not drinking will just feel 100% normal. You will forget about the pain at some point. And that's why I'm making this video, because I'm going to tell you what to do with this in a second, and I'm going to give you more of a plan. But I really want to manage your expectations. You will reach a new baseline and things will feel normal. So let's get into the fourth thing to expect. And once you reach this baseline, this is when things can get tough. You might have been feeling really good for months on end, back in the gym, relationships are getting better, but then things kind of just flatline, and then you look at your life and you're all of a sudden hit with this clarity. Again, the time frames on this, they're impossible for me to tell you directly what's going to happen to you in your situation because nobody knows. These things will happen, but it could all happen in the first 2 weeks, but it could also happen in the first year. But this happened to me, and it doesn't necessarily happen to everybody, but I think for 90% plus of people, this will happen. Reality hits you in the face, and you realize your life isn't where it could be. And this is one of the most painful realizations when you don't drink. So we'll use an example. You might have stopped drinking alcohol because it was causing strain in a marriage. Or maybe your children, they just weren't looking up to you the way that you wanted them to. Let's just say the relationships were your big driver. Let's say you stop drinking alcohol and then all of a sudden your spouse is happy and she seems really happy with you and you're making progress and things are going well. But then maybe there's other work in that relationship that you've been avoiding for years. There's maybe really difficult conversations, other problems that you haven't resolved. And just because you've stopped drinking alcohol, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden those problems are going to be fixed. And we can use relationships as an example, but this can spread into every area, right? It could be your health. You might have stopped drinking alcohol because it's unhealthy. But then 3 months later, you still don't have a six-pack, or your blood work still isn't great. But you can get this rush of clarity and realize that life isn't where you want it to be. That happened to me. It happens to most of the people that I work with, and it can feel like a punch in the stomach. So now I've been as realistic as possible with you. The next 4 things that you can expect are all going to be positive, because I'm going to show you what exactly you need to do to make this change permanent. Because what you don't want to happen is you don't want to go through all of those experiences, be 3 months sober, and then think, what's the point? I might as well drink. That is the last thing I want you to do. So now I want to kind of switch the video, start talking about the positives, but actually give you some things to do to help you make this change permanent. So, point number 5. When you make a promise to yourself to not drink alcohol and you keep that promise, guess what happens? That will spill into every area of your life. I spent the best part of 10 years having this terrible relationship with myself. I'd promised myself I wasn't going to drink, and then I'd drink. And that cycle repeated for close to 10 years. So when I promised myself, right, Leon, you're going to get back to the gym, you're going to get in great shape, you're going to start a business, you're going to do all of these great things. Do you really think, after lying to myself about alcohol and breaking that promise to myself more times than I can count, that I was serious about those goals? Of course I wasn't. But when I stopped drinking alcohol and I knew in my heart, no matter how bad things got in my personal life, no matter what happened, I wasn't going to drink, when I'd made that true decision, when I'd fully reframed the way I view alcohol, where I just saw it for what it was, as poison, as ethanol, don't want that in my life anymore, and I made a true decision, that level of self-confidence spilled into every area of my life. So you can expect a new level of self-confidence. And it's really up to you what you do with that. You can really utilize this and then go into the next things that I'm going to talk about, or you can use that confidence to then think, well, hang on, maybe this time when I drink alcohol, it's going to be different. Now things are going well. Now I've got through that difficult time. Now things have leveled off and I've kind of accepted my, where things are at. You really are then at a fork roads in the journey. You either think, F it, I'm going to drink, or you start that justification of having just one drink and maybe this time things will be different. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that. It ain't different. So some people will get to this point and sadly take that path. I don't want you to do that, but I can't make that decision for you, because the other path that you can take is you use that confidence as a driver, which leads me into the 6th thing that you can expect. When that self-confidence comes into your life, which it will at some point, the vision that you can have for your life and the vision of what's possible starts to expand. Listen, I don't want to sound judgmental. I don't care how successful you are. I don't care how much money you've got. I don't care how good your family life is. I don't care how good your health is. If you drink alcohol, I promise you with 100% certainty, guaranteed, you are not living up to your potential. You are consuming a poison. You are consuming a drug, and this drug does nothing to make your life better. All it does is damage you. It's a damn carcinogen. When you stop drinking alcohol, you start to realize, okay, I have finally defeated this problem. I've fixed this problem, so what other problems can I fix? Maybe for you, it is your marriage. Maybe for you, it is your health. Maybe for you, it's your business, starting a business, taking the next step in your career. But I promise you, the vision for what you think you're capable of, it will be bigger if you don't drink. In my own life, when I stopped drinking alcohol, I immediately started a personal training business. Within maybe 3 weeks of not drinking, I quit my job, the self-confidence was there, and rather than go down that path of controlling that I'd tried 1,000 times in the past and always failed, I went into another direction. The self-confidence led me to start to believe in myself, and I started a personal training business. And once the personal training business was successful, the self-confidence snowballed, and I felt better and better and better. So I ended up moving to Asia. I booked a one-way flight to Asia. I moved to Thailand because I wanted an online business, and things just kept getting better because I'd restored the self-trust. I started to believe in my ability to get things done. For me, this was all very compressed, but I'm not gonna lie, I was like in my mid-20s when I stopped drinking. For others, getting up to this point could take 6 months, but you will get to a place where you start to realize you have full control of your future, and it's the best feeling ever. Which leads me to the 7th thing that you can expect. The 7th thing that you can expect is if you hit this level of self-confidence, you've really expanded your vision, and you actually start taking action, and you start implementing things, you start creating plans, following plans, sticking to plans, and you take massive amounts of action. This is when your life can reach new peaks that you might never have thought possible. I have worked with people who have ran marathons, I've got one guy who built a multiple $100 million company who started from zero. I've had people say that their marriage is better than ever, that they get called 2.0 version of themselves from their wife. I've seen people get promotions. I've seen people do all sorts of things after they've stopped drinking. But the most important thing that they did is they took massive amounts of action. They used this confidence and this belief in themselves and this expanded vision as a starting point, but then they got busy. They started doing things. And this is where coaching can really fit into somebody's journey when they're stopping drinking. If you can get somebody that's holding you accountable to what's next in your life, boy oh boy, that's when things can get interesting. And that's how I designed my stop drinking program. We help people reframe the way that they view alcohol so they can make a decision and move on. But the coaching element of my program is all about what's next. It's all about holding you accountable to being the healthiest, the most successful, the best version of you. And the reason why we do this, and the reason why I recommend that you take this approach, is because what you want to happen in 1 or 2 years from now is you want to be in such a different place that you can look back at your life and that idea of having just one drink seems foreign to you because you have evolved to a totally new version of yourself. See, the 8th thing to expect, and this is where I really wanted to leave the video, because one thing I can't do for you is I cannot control your actions. I can't control what you do. So when you stop drinking alcohol, maybe for you, nothing changes. Maybe life stays exactly the same, unless you take action. Taking action is the most important thing because you've really got to see stopping drinking as the first step to getting what you want in your life. The act of not drinking alcohol is not some miracle cure that's going to fix everything, but it's the first step that you can take in the right direction. Now, if you want help doing it, if you want help implementing all of this stuff, if you want to book a free call, go ahead and click the link down below, fill in an application, and then you'll be able to book a consultation and we can see if the Sober Clear program could be a good match for you. We work with business owners and professionals and we help them stop drinking without AA and therapy and rehab. We don't do any of that stuff. So if you want to see if there's a good match, click the link down below and let's get your life to the next damn level. Speak with you soon.